Hello everyone, welcome back to the studio. Thank you so much for joining me here today for another Tutorial Tuesday. Today I thought we would do a really fun, warm sunset scene. It's been really chilly in Salt Lake with all kinds of fun weather. So I just really wanted to do a warm sunset scene over the water, but it's not going to include a wave. So it's going to be a really simple, I think it's going to be very enjoyable and a warm scene. So anyway, grab your paints. Let's jump right into it. Before we really start off, I wanted to just put up a little bit of a sketch just to give us an idea of what we're going for and just to help us plan out the scene for the future. So we're going to dip just right into a touch of the liquid white, and I'm just using a nice sable brush. You can use a filbert brush or just something small and maneuverable. We don't need anything too large for this. We just want to give a little bit of an outline and a little bit of an idea of what we're going to paint. Now we're going to start with a bright sun, and we're going to have it kind of down in this third. So we want to just give a little bit of a measurement. Let's go. We're going to go to the ferrule today. And we'll just drag that straight across. And let's double check on my canvas to the ferrule. From the canvas, and over here we're a little high, so we'll just bring this side up a little bit to even it out. No big deal. And down. Okay, let's pick up just a touch more of this paint, and we'll move our next bit of our shape. We're going to have some rocks in here, and I just want to pick out my center kind of feature point. And we'll have, you know, some rocks here and some big ones up here. Something like that. Okay. Now we're going to have light and our sun featured in this region, and then we're going to also be wanting to reflect that light down. So let's just remind ourselves of this reflected light coming down into our foreground. We can just continue with this color here, and we'll start right at the horizon. A nice kind of musky color for this section. Let's go ahead and pick up our 1-inch brush so we can get a little bit more speed here on getting our colors in. We're just going to start with this bright Indian yellow and apply this right into our sun area. Now we do want to still think about these rocks in here and having the light reflect off of it, so it's okay to fill in these areas with the light as though the sun is still behind these mountains, even though we're not going to see the actual sunset up here. We still just want to apply these colors because the sun is going to be there. And just like we talked about, we don't want to forget, let's just add a nice bright area right there in the middle. Into the bright red now. Bright red and Indian yellow, touch of titanium white. Kind of going for a peach color, a little orangey peach. Nice, just like that. And we're just going to surround a good portion of this yellow with our orange. Nothing too crazy. Let's go ahead and do the same thing down below. Now we're going to grab a little bit of crimson, bright red. I just wiped off the brush a touch to get some of that excess paint off. I didn't really want too much of it going. We'll add a little bit of titanium white. I do want this sky to lighten up a little bit, but we do have a lot of liquid white on the canvas, so it's going to do that automatically once we start blending it. So first we're going to apply some nice dark base color, and then we'll come back in and soften it all. And while we soften it, it's going to blend with the liquid white, and it will automatically become less bright. So we're looking at these colors thinking, oh my gosh, Kaylee, what are you thinking? Don't worry, we have a plan. Okay, so we're just kind of filling in, conditioning the canvas, allowing all of it to have some sense of color. And I want to do just as we've been doing and incorporate this beautiful lavender, or we're not at the lavender, bright crimson. I do know my colors. But I've been a little bit under the weather. I don't know if you can tell. So my brain is a little bit foggy. I'm doing my best. I just really wanted to paint. And thankfully we are here and ready for Tutorial Tuesday and recording on time. So that's all great and dandy, and I'm super excited. But I definitely took some time off from painting, and I normally would get 3 paintings in a week, and I only did 1 last week, so thank you all for being here. So excited. Okay, that's enough of these reflected colors down here. We're going to work on some of our lavender, as I hinted towards, up top. So let's grab just a touch of phthalo blue and mix that with primarily just the alizarin crimson, but I'm still using the same dirty brush, so there's going to be lots of color going on, and we're making kind of a muddy lavender. That's okay. That's what we want. We don't want it to be too blue at first because we can't really take away from that. We can add more crimson to the top and try and make it a little bit better, but it's a bit more challenging, so I just try to always start with a little bit less. And I'm just getting a little bit loose and rough up here. There's going to be some clouds, so I really just want to kind of give it that movement behind, and it's going to make the clouds much, much easier to go ahead and throw them in. Now you can see that I lost a lot of the blue up there, so I'm going to grab some. It's actually what I wanted to do. And we're going to go right over the top of the lavender and pull back some of this blue. So it's phthalo blue is a really, really, really strong blue. It's not necessarily dark. It can be if you mix it with other colors, but it's a very strong blue. So it's going to overpower everything else that you have. So Prussian blue can definitely do that. It's just going to act a little bit differently, but today with this phthalo blue, I just want you to know it can get really, really strong. So just be really careful when you're blending these, just to not get too crazy on it, because you'll be a little bit upset about it, and I don't want you to be upset. Let's do a little bit of our lavender, and I'm starting on the bottom and moving up because I do want this to be lighter at the top. Let's move this out more. I'm going to grab a little bit more crimson. All the way out. Same thing on this side. To the corner. And we'll just bring this up to about there. I'm going to wipe off my brush. And I'm actually going to pick up my small sable brush and pick up some phthalo green. Just mix that right into the brush. Pick up some titanium white. A little bit more. Now I really want there to be a nice and bright spot in here. So we're gonna get a little bit crazy. First off, we are gonna use this phthalo green to mix right in here. We're gonna put a cloud back here. Stay with me. I know, we're crazy. Right up in here, I want there to be a nice big cloud. I actually want it to be a gray cloud, kind of sitting on top of these colors. So we're just gonna allow this phthalo green to just soften and blend. Wipe off the brush, go into some titanium white, a good bit of that, right on the brush, and right in the center, we're gonna have a nice light spot. Wipe off the brush. And I'm just going to soften that. We'll go ahead and soften out this as well. We're just going to pull off some of the excess paint because we still haven't even blended our sky. We're just applying our colors, getting the base tones going so that we can layer on top. So we're just softening out some of this cloud color. Now, I'm going to pick up my 1-inch brush, making sure that it's clean, or this is my 2-inch blending brush, making sure that it's nice and clean, and we're going to go right into this sun area. Now that green spot just kind of disappeared, but that's okay. We want that to stay there. There's going to be a little bit of a gray hue, which we're going to work with later. We're picking up some crimson now, and we're just blending outside of this bright yellow area and just allowing everything else to become very, very, very soft. We're just conditioning the canvas, getting it started, setting the tone. Have a nice pink bright sky up here. A little bit of lavender in between. We'll just soften this all. Okay, and we'll bring these from the outside in. Lots of pressure on the outside and letting up as you get closer to the middle. Right, now pick up our sable brush, make sure it's good and clean. We don't want any schmutz in there this time. Titanium white, nice and crisp. And we're going to go right into our sun, right where we want the sun. Pick up your blending brush. All the way across now. We can just soften this by pulling down there. Okay, now we're going to work on some fun clouds. First, we're going to build up some different layers of clouds, just some dark, kind of background movement, and then we'll come back in and highlight them. So I've got a nice bright orange, just that same orange we were using on the canvas. Just mixing into that. And we're going to come down here and we'll just put in a few little distant little duders out there. Something like that. A little bit more color now. Get a touch of that crimson. Just give it a little bit of a wiggle. I'm using one of my bigger fan brushes. They can be really fun. You don't have to load a lot of paint on it to get a really fun effect. So give it a try and see how you like it. We do want to grab some titanium white and make sure that we're mixing these colors. We don't want just the pure color anymore. We want a little bit of titanium white. And we're going to just moving further and further from our light source. Pop in some fun movement. I'm using bright red and alizarin crimson, a touch of titanium white. I'm going to grab just a touch of dark sienna. Ooh, nice. And we're going to go for that lavender now. Getting into just a little hint of it, of our blue, and going right back to the crimsons and reds. Just a touch of that blue, not too much. And just let loose. Isn't that fun? Okay, we're going to blend these out and then we're going to highlight them. But one step at a time. You don't want to get ahead of yourself. Make sure that your brush is nice and clean. I'm going to just tap these down. I'm basically tapping at the base of this cloud. Flat. Pull that across. Here we'll give it a little bit of a twirl. Soften. Softening. Soften the base and pull that flat. Maybe like that. Give these some nice swirlies. Just using the tip of the brush, swirling it around in different directions. Always moving, always moving. This can be a real challenge because you just want to get into making those pops on the clouds and really seeing them, but you've got to put this effort in here on putting in the darks. They have to be there in order for your highlights to show. Isn't that nice? Okay, now let's just double check. We'll do a little tiny bit more softening. Just lift all of these up. I could still see just a few brush strokes. And this is the easiest way to get those clouds to really elevate themselves and to remove the excess brush strokes that you just don't want to see. Soften, soften. Ooh, I got a little carried away there. Oh, there we go. I was closer to the canvas than I thought I was, I guess. We're just pulling all of the brush strokes out and just lightly going across the whole thing, just like that. Now, we're going to add in our sun. Just put in a nice bright circle there. Scrape it off. What? We put it on and took it off just like that? I know. I'm crazy. See if I can't find myself another fan brush. All right, we're ready for highlights. Let's pick up some titanium white, just the tiniest little touch of liquid white. We're going to go into our Indian yellow and make a nice bright pop of yellow. Beautiful bright sunshine color. And we need it to be just slightly thinner than the paint that we have on the canvas so that it'll stick. And we're just going to touch where these highlights are going to be popping. Just touch. You can give it a little bit of a push, just a slight little bend on the bristles if you need to get that paint to pull off. We're just going to work with this bright yellow until we get close to our blues. Because this is when we don't want that to be blending. Right here is okay. Let's pop on a little bit of red now, bright red. We still want this paint to be thinner than the paint that we have on the canvas and lighter. And to get that paint to be in the right spot on the bristles, you want to give your brush a nice little wiggle. It's going to pull all of the paint to the tip of the brush right where we want it. And I could feel that this was thickening up a little bit, so I'm going to add just a touch more liquid white. Now our light source is coming from the bottom, and these clouds are high up in the sky. So we're going to see the light kind of on the bottom areas, right? So keep that in mind. Let's grab just a touch of yellow ochre, but we're still using our peach colors. All three of the yellows, darker as we move out, always darker. Ooh, just getting a nice shiner on that cloud. Here, maybe here. And I think we need just a touch more on this one here. Maybe way out here. This one's just going to be really shining off. Big bit of titanium white, bright red. Right out here. Here, just a little bit. Okay. Now we're going to pick up our 2-inch brush. I got it right this time. Listen, if I know what I'm using, then you should know what I'm using. I'm kidding. Sometimes words are just hard. So anyway, cleaning out my 2-inch brush. This is the blending brush I've been using the whole time. I haven't actually cleaned it in anything. I'm just wiping it off. Okay, nice and wiped off. Now we're just going to go right below. We're on the bottom of the sun. tap. Now we're above. So we're softening behind our highlight, pulling that highlight back and allowing it to just whisper on the rest of the cloud. But the lightest point is going to be the closest point. Now on this perspective of the sky, we're looking directly at the sun. So the curvature of the earth is going to create everything to be larger around in a circle on this painting. So now if you can imagine that as we get further out, the horizon line is nice and flat up here, and we're moving further out, and it's rounding. So keep that in mind while you're laying out your scene. So that you can really build the depth in your painting and help it to look more realistic. Now we don't have to like put a bunch of pressure on ourselves to make the most perfect painting. You know, we're here to have fun and to learn something about maybe perseverance or kind of, working through challenges. But a lot of it is just very enjoyable to combine colors and, you know, kind of put your mood out onto the painting. So anyway, I hope that you're having fun while you're making these clouds, and then your clouds will be nice and fluffy and fun. They'll look very realistic because if they look too uniform, then it's not going to look real. So just have fun with it. Get wiggly and allow those clouds to move. Now, I'm going to take off all the excess paint from my brush and just go all the way across now. Very lightly, very lightly, very lightly. And we're going to give these a nice big lift up here. Just soften them out. Very nice. Last step here, a little bit of titanium white and bright red. Just a touch of those two. I really want to pick out a nice bright area. We're going to get some liquid white. And I really want this sun to be popping right across here in the middle. So we're just going to add a touch of sunshine into this. The titanium white is going to help blend it out just on the back side. Just nice and easy. Lift and blend that out. Got a little hair in there. Get that one out. There we go. Okay, I'm really liking these colors. I just want to add just a touch more of titanium white onto the fan brush right out here and right here. Okay, now let's blend these. And we're just softening the back sides. Get some of that extra paint off of the brush. Lift and go across. Lift. We're taking this whole piece, just all of these clouds, lifting it in a nice semicircle now. And get some extra paint out. There's just a touch more than I want. You'll start to notice if it pulls, if you're getting like a lot of brush strokes when you're going really light and trying not to. You might just have a little bit too much paint still on the brush and it's pulling the paint that you have on your canvas. So the two are talking and they like it. So you just have to wipe off your brush a little bit more and it should help you out. Okay? Okay, let's leave this sky just as it is, and we can always come back in and add a little bit more because I already think there's probably going to be, I lied, let's just do it. We're going to get this big fan brush because it already has our lavender on it. We're going to go right into our lavender and we're going to put in this nice kind of in the foreground, not in the foreground, but it's closer. This kind of nice, it just helps to create a little bit more depth as we've been talking about. Okay, soften. This is a cloud that's, you know, in front of this sun, where these other ones were really far away. They're still technically in front, but they're much further away. This one's a little closer, a little bit closer, so it's a little bit darker and it's kind of got a silhouette effect as opposed to these ones being just barely catching on the light. So we'll lift, soften, and then we're going to highlight it, but we're going to do it a little bit differently. Titanium white and alizarin crimson. And we'll apply this right here onto the base. A little touch, just a little bit more red into it. And we'll also kind of put just a few, just a touch of these on some of these edges in the middle, on the top side, sorry. And I'm going to use my fan brush and just wiping out all of the extra paint that I had on here. And I'm just going to kind of wiggle this together with my fan brush. Because I have all of that highlight color on there, it's just gonna soften and make this look real pretty here, kind of more closer to us. Lift and soften it. Okay. Now we're gonna add some turquoise into our bottom here. Just going right into the phthalo green, and we want to apply this down into the base. Phthalo green, let's grab a little bit of titanium white. Nice. Touch more titanium white. Even more, gosh dang it. That's what I was hoping for. Okay. Nice and phthalo green. It's just a beautiful turquoise color, you know, just of like maybe like the Mediterranean waters. I don't really know where we are, but it's definitely having just like a fun vacation vibe. So, you know, that's where I'm at. I wouldn't mind going to a beach. This would probably be a really cool place for rock climbers too, because there's some pretty fun cliffs. They're not very overhung, so I guess you wouldn't want to fail off of these too much, but sometimes when they have those overhangs, climbers are really into that. So there's probably some places like that very close to what we're painting. Maybe they're just around the corner. I'm just gonna go all the way across. Clean out the brush. Okay, just like that. We're gonna go right into this next step here, but before we put in our rocks and do this foreground, we're gonna just work on the horizon, just a touch down at the bottom. Now with our dirty brush, we'll go right into some Indian yellow and bright red. Let's see what this makes for us. Just right. Now, picking out a horizon. I want to get my sable brush and we'll go into some Indian yellow and bright red. Nice. So we had a little bit of phthalo green on the brush and then we added some yellows and reds. And it just turns into a nice little gray out at the horizon line, which is what we want. And we'll just work with our yellows and we'll just try and get some of these colors to really pop. I just picked up a bunch of titanium white because we want it there, and we're going to move it out. Water movement. We're just doing a nice rocking stroke here, rocking side to side, keeping it flat. Pick up our blending brush. I just want to soften that. I'm going to go right into the titanium white. And our orange. Soften that. Guess it was pretty crooked, so. Flat. And we're going to lift up this cloud again because it looks like that got a little pushed around. Poor guy, gal. Okay. Time for some rocks. I'm going to go right into my dark sienna and bright red, yellow ochre, and some titanium white. And we're going to put in our first little rock feature. And I do want it to be a little bit above this cloud. Boop-a-doo. And it's going to come just below the horizon. It's further out. And we'll just paint in a little bit of this. Down at the base, let's pick up some Van Dyke brown and just pull that across. Something like that. And I want to go ahead and put in the other side. Same color, same mixture. This one a little lower, something like this. Van Dyke brown. Go ahead and pull that dark up. Get right back into our brown mixtures. Just to about right here. Now, we're going to take some Van Dyke Brown and Phthalo Green, mix those two on the brush. And we want to apply some of that down here. We just want to get a nice start to our dark shadow that's going to be in here, but our sunlight is so close, there's not going to be huge, I mean, this is all going to be kind of in the shadow. This is our sunlight here. So we just want to add the dark down in the bottom and kind of allow this all to blend together. We have our water, right? And going up into our rocks, just softening that. Van Dyke Brown and dark sienna. I just want to create a few ideas of our dark over here. We're just putting in a little bit of an idea. This is not anything super serious. I just want to create a little bit of shape in these rocks out here before I get too ahead of myself and, you know, forget to put in a few more details. Okay. Now we'll pick up our blending brush, pull down, straight down. Okay. Now with our palette knife, we're gonna get a little bit more detail going on these rocks. Van Dyke Brown, dark sienna, bright red, and a touch of yellow ochre. We want to pick up some titanium white to that. We've got a nice marbled color, and we're just going to make sure that we've got a good amount of paint, not too much paint, but we want to make sure that the details and these edges are nice and covered, nice and dark on the tips here, and just like the outline itself is nice and filled in. Now we're going to start thinking about the shape of this. Same thing right over here. Okay, blending brush. Lift. Just softening out the brush strokes. Now we're going to mix up a little bit of a highlight color. Titanium white. We'll go right into our nice peaches and oranges over here. We'll just grab a touch more of the yellow ochre. I want some dark sienna in there as well. Now right on the edge where we're going to have light hitting these rocks, we'll put this nice highlight color on here. A little bit more here. something that's really important when you're using the palette knife is you have to have an extremely light touch. And if you'll notice, sometimes it is a little bit harder to see, but my fingers are holding the palette knife on the side, okay? If you were to put your finger on the top here, you're going to press into the paint, and we don't want to do that. We want to drag the paint slightly together. So, 2 fingers, and you just wrap your hand around, and we're very lightly, barely touching. This is just grabbing onto the paint that's on the canvas and pulling down. So the 2 are just meeting and they're saying, hey. We'll go ahead and highlight this side as well. Keep moving down the rock, giving it nice and bright highlights out here. Okay, now we're going to mix up a little bit of a shadow color, Van Dyke brown, titanium white, and a little bit of phthalo green. Let's grab some of our mountain color, just a touch more. There we go. Now something that works really well for putting on the shadows is if you load your paint and then go up into your highlight, you just push into the highlight color just slightly with your knife and then drag your shadow out. And it really brings the 2 together. You just kind of push into it just a tiny bit. Hopefully you can see that. We'll add in some shadows in here. And over onto this side. Shadows. Nice. Now, let's just pull down some of that paint again. Go straight across. And right on the outside, we're going to put just a touch Indian yellow and bright red and titanium white, much more titanium white. Get a touch of that. And right out on the edge, we want to just add a pop of bright just a touch. All right, and before we get to this next mountain rock area feature that we're doing, I'm just going to soften out some of this watercolor. I just have a little bit of a line there that I wasn't too fond of. Here too, just soften that out a little bit. Now, I want to take my palette knife and mix up another brown. We'll just hold on to this for later. Van Dyke brown, dark sienna, bright red. Just a touch of phthalo green and some alizarin crimson. a little bit darker now. We're moving closer to us, and we're going to put a nice big one right here. Just like this. It's going to come down, and it's just slightly hanging over, and we're coming out here. Nice dark rock mixture. I'm probably going to need to mix up some more of that. This is going to go all the way up, so we'll just go ahead and fill that in right now. Just to there. Just want to get the paint into the canvas. I'm going to pick up just a touch of Midnight Black now, phthalo green, alizarin crimson, dark sienna, Van Dyke brown. Mix that all onto the brush. And there's now Midnight Black. Just a touch. Down at the base, there's just this nice dark. I'm assuming this is probably, well, I don't know. I think it could be limestone because it gets darker when it's wet. It turns black. So we're just going to make sure that we incorporate that here and pull some of that color into the water. All right, and now on this side there's going to be another hill. It's going to look like this. And it comes down to there, coming across. Something like that. Just filling it all in, and then we'll pick out and do all the details later. Midnight Black, Van Dyke brown. And we want to incorporate some of that into the canvas. Let's go ahead and pull this down. Go across. Okay. I am gonna go take a little snack break. I'm back from lunch. Let's jump right into it. I was just checking the temperature. It's a little bit warmer. It's about 60 degrees in here. So just in case you all are wondering why I'm wearing coats and warm things, it's because it's pretty cold in here. I have a studio in my garage so that it's nice and close to my house. So I can paint whenever I want, go in and have food and relax. And I'm really grateful to be able to have this space because it, you know, all of the comforts of home, right? So anyway, now you know, I'm just using my 2-inch brush to soften some of this, just evening out the paint. And then we're kind of building in a little bit of the idea and the shape of these rocks. Just pulling down some of that color into the water as a reflection below. Now, as you may or may not know, I've been working towards doing some YouTube lives very, very, very soon in the future. So my setup has been changing a little bit here as I'm getting ready for that. So today, and in some of the more recent videos, I've had a few new issues, so to speak, that have come up. So I'm definitely just trying to work through a few processes so that we can do YouTube lives and we can do actual questions, in person, and I can answer your questions differently. And I think it's just going to be a lot of fun. I was getting a little excited and I wanted to put in a few water details down in front. So I just picked up my sable brush and used some titanium white. And I just want these to look like on top of the water, just some like foam in the water. So we just kind of give it a little rock here and there, laying it flat. And we're getting out the main brush strokes in it. And we'll come back and do this more. I just wanted to see what this was going to look like here, because I think we're going to bring this mountain down more. Let's grab some alizarin crimson, dark sienna, Van Dyke brown, phthalo green, and midnight black. Mix that all on the brush and we'll set that for later. Now we're going to pick up some titanium white and go into some of our reds. We want to add a little bit of our mountain mixture. Touch of this darker mountain mixture, and we're just mixing up a nice marbled highlight color here. And we want a lot of variety to it, so it doesn't matter. We don't need to get too serious about it, but just tons of variety. We have some reds up in here, there's some gold down in here, and darker in between. So just get lots of stuff going, because the sun is just going to be hitting off of this ever so slightly. Going to be kind of more of a rounded effect up here. And let's do a highlight on this one now. Down. Maybe have a few right out in front. Just nice thick paint, allowing it to layer and grab on to the paint that we already have. Let's add some yellow ochre. And all the way on this other side, we'll do something similar. I'm just going to grab some bright red and some of this mountain mixture. I just wanted a little bit darker over here. And we'll just pause there. Pick up your 2-inch brush and soften, and then we'll lift. Let's grab our palette knife, go into some titanium white, grab our shadow mixture. We can just mix up a touch more of that by grabbing some of our blues and a little bit more of our mountain mixture because we want this darker. Cut off a little roll of that paint, and we'll just allow this to kind of get in between and fill in some of those middle areas. Nice gray, give it some movement, and we'll do the same thing over here. Looks like we need to mix up some more of this. Go into our blues, just do the same thing as before, mix up a nice marbled color. We're going to put in kind of a nice dark area over here. Just mix in some more dark into our shadow color. Just give it a little bit of movement over here and just some ideas of that rocky bits. Come back over and grab a little highlight color. And we'll just bring that up there. We're going to do one more little outcrop little section of a rock here. Just nice dark colors, lots of dark, and just right over here. Well, maybe we'll do them a little bit lower, actually. How about right here? Just down, all the way down in front. This is just a nice dark rock right out in front. We'll pull down our reflection. And go across. And we'll maybe add something on the same here, just something like this. Just something that's a little bit further, like closer to us here. Still a nice little rock over here. Let's soften this a little, and then we'll get a reflection going. Something like that. Let's check out our highlight color over here. Not too bright. I'm going to get a little bit of our lavender mixture. Cut off a little roll of that. And right down on the front. That'll be our highlight here. And it'll kind of fade out. Grab just a touch more. It's okay, it's going to be nice and dark over here. Looks like I have a brush hair somewhere on the palette that is wanting to pick up on my knife. Kind of makes it a little challenging. There it is. Got it. Okay. something like that. A little bit of shadow and just bring it together over here. These are really dark colors and they'll just dry with some nice fun pops, and I just want it to be nice and soft so we can use the brush actually and just soften it out. And then we'll go across a little bit here through a brush. And right out on the tops of these rocks, we're going to have some little like trees and stuff. We'll get a little phthalo green, some Indian yellow, and dark sienna. I'm going to grab a little bit of alizarin crimson. We'll start with it a little darker, and we're just going to find a few areas and put in some kind of dark green, some shrub and, you know, things that are going to be growing. Maybe we'll have some up here, just hanging out. We're just putting on the dark first. All of the dark colors. I'll just kind of build in a few ideas of some shrubs and trees growing up here. Just some fun. There's not like a lot of stuff growing out here, but there's like holes in all the rocks. So if there's enough where the water might stay, then the roots can grow too. We see it all over. So these are just probably, yeah, that's why I think it could be limestone. But I was just looking at a couple photos online and then drew up a little sketch for us today. So it's sort of a made-up place because I wanted to make it nice and fun with the composition. I think we might have a few little bushes and stuff right over here. And right over here. Now we'll use our palette knife and just clean up some of the edges where we just put out some of our highlight or some of our dark roots and stuff. So you can pick up some highlight and just clean up the edge, but it'll help to bring the colors together. And we'll just tidy up a few here and there. And then we're going to pick up the fan brush, go into some liquid white, and into the Indian yellow over here, we're going to kind of make a dirty green. We don't want it too bright. And we're working with the colors that we had just put on as our base. And we'll just highlight these. Maybe a little bit lighter actually. I do want it to stand out. That's nice. And we'll just pick out our highlights on the rocks. Maybe there's just a little bit. And you just have some nice little greenery that's just living and making it on these cliffs here. They're more on the top. Probably have a good view from up there. They live a good life, these little trees. A little bit more liquid white, just a touch of that. I don't want this part too bright, I just needed it thinner, so there we go. Popping in a few more fun bushes and some shrubs just living out here, doing its thing, hanging out with the rock, living in the cracks. Oop, we missed one. I did. I will go get that one right up there. Maybe just a touch of bright red. There's some happening right here. Okay, yeah, I like that. Now, let's just mix up this titanium white that we have here. There was some blue with it, there's some yellow with it, whatever. We've got color, that's what we want. And we're just thinning it down just a little bit to like a medium texture. Cut off a little roll of that. And way out here, I'm going to dance in a water line, keeping it as flat as you can, just rocking the knife back and forth at the base of your rocks. That one went a little better for me. Now, I went over that rock there, which we don't want to do. Now, I want to take this color and just dance on all the way down. That way we can incorporate it all together all the way to the top, where we're going to have a nice bright area. Just with the knife, put in a nice bright line, and then you can tap into the paint and just move back and forth, and you're just going to move the paint around in a random way. And what this does is it creates those little sparkles that you get on the top of the water, you know, that you see. They're like little dots, and it just sparkles so beautifully. And you could just do that with the titanium white by applying it over these other colors, because the titanium white, when it dries, is going to kind of sparkle. And as we're tapping this and moving it into the other paint, it's just slightly allowing it to blend. Isn't that fun? Now, we're going to work on this rock here. We'll grab some of our water line and just apply this back in here. See, and that pushes that rock back. And right out in the foreground, we have this one. And we'll clean that up just a little bit. Add in a few little movements, kind of pulling back from the rock, but still making sure to go very straight. Now onto this other side, we'll allow this color, still want it to be a medium thickness, but just to get a little bit grayer now. Medium thickness, right over here. That did not go as planned. Hold on, we need to fix this. I'm gonna just grab, why don't we just put some little grasses out there? That'll do it. Just a little bit of yellow, and we'll just kind of tap out a few little grasses right here. And some dark down at the base, because it kind of lost that. Pull that down like this, go across, and right here, we're gonna pull this down here and pull that across. Okay. And now let's pick up some medium texture gray. It's going to be titanium white primarily, but just muddy that out with a little bit of lavender color. And you want to have a little bit of liquid white still in here so that it's nice and liquidy. Medium texture will really work well. And we're just going to drag out our water line. Now we will pick up a little bit of Indian yellow and titanium white. That was so much more than I thought I had. Okay, we want some of this yellow, and we're going to pop this in right in the middle here. And you can just use the palette knife and allow it to just do it, you know, just have whatever look that it comes off with. Let that happen naturally. Maybe we can put it this way. There's a few angles that are a little tricky. I'm going to wipe that off and get it nice and clean, and then take some of this, lighten it up just a touch, and we'll apply some up here. Now we want to take some of this bright yellow and sparkle it onto a couple areas on these rocks where it's just sure to be, you know, nice and bright and shiny. Just allow it to barely grab onto the paint that is already on the canvas, and it'll break. This side's a little trickier with the camera and my placement. I always am trying to think of getting the right placement so that you can see what I'm doing, but there are definitely some angles that are a little more challenging, such as this. Now I'm running out of some of my yellow here. Let's just mix up a tiny bit more by just kind of getting rid of all your paint on the palette, and then you can grab some more white. We'll just, you know, just visualize where the sun might be really hitting these edges. Okay, now I'm gonna pick up my sable brush, clean that out. That's really dark. Let's pick up some of this any old white kind of a mixture, and we're gonna start all the way up here, and we're just going to pull out and flatten some of these. We do want this to come all the way to the edge, just slightly pull that out and soften, moving back and forth, rocking the brush. And right out in front, I want to add just a few little white spots. There we go. And then we'll move down. Just rocking side to side. Always making sure that you're going as flat as you can. Now, down here, let's just bring some of these out even more. Always trying to keep that same rocking stroke. Just allowing these colors to kind of commingle. Now let's pick up some titanium white, and we're going to put in some more of these kind of squiggles. Just that foam that you're going to get on top of the water. Just allow this to mix with the paint that's on the canvas. And we'll move in a few more, something like this. And now we'll just kind of bring this all together. We want a little bit of these out in the front, but we'll change up the color just a little to keep with the idea here, right? So we still have all the foam, but it's just in this other color. Get a good bit of this moving in here. Kind of keeping it in like a rocking pattern. And we'll do a touch over here. Okay, now I'm gonna take my 2-inch brush and just, I don't know if this is gonna, I'm gonna wiggle like this. Okay, now let's go across. Right, nice look of those foamy bits. Now let's pick up our script liner, go into the liquid white and get some light mixture. We really want to put some sparkle out here. Just keep going with that liquid white and a little bit of our Indian yellow. All the way up. And one more time, just kind of in some of these middle areas. All right, now into a little bit of a medium texture now, and we're just going to kind of just drag this across. Get some little bit thinner. It's become thick white instead of medium white. Right down at the bottom, I'm going to see if we can just add a little bit of shine. I'll pull this. Now I have, here's my titanium white. I'm gonna pick up just some thick paint with my filbert brush. We want a hard bristle brush, and we'll go kind of into some of these grays here. Nothing too special. It's kind of a lavender mixture. I just want to use this thick paint to really pull out some of these foams out here. And you need a good bit of paint for this, for it to pull off. Just pick out a few areas where you want them to pop out, and then we'll just give them a little bit of a rock. And we'll clean some of this up. Maybe just a touch more out here. Nice and calm further out. All right. You know what? I think this is it. I think I'm going to sign it. I'm going to go into my liquid white and grab some bright red. And I'll sign it right over here. All right, I'm all finished with my painting for today. I definitely would encourage you to put in some more details if you would like to. You could put in some little grasses here and there and make it really fun. But like I said earlier, I just had a little bit of a tough week last week, so just getting into the studio and making something happen really makes me feel better. So thank you all for joining me here today for Tutorial Tuesday. This was tutorial number 26 in my series of Tutorial Tuesdays where I post every Tuesday a new oil painting tutorial. I said tutorials so many times. I'm sorry. I am so grateful for all of you to be here with me. Smile and be happy, friends.